This is Jonathan Overend alongside Tom Colomossi from the Evening Standard. Hi, Tom.
Hi, Jonathan.
Matt Etherington's with us again. Matt, you okay?
Very well, thank you.
And direct from Scotland, putting up with a miserable few days of action for his international team, it's Lee McCulloch. Hi, Lee, how are you?
Hi, I'm great, thank you.
Good. Well, better than Alex McLeish and your national side. We'll talk about that. We'll also go to Seville and be joined by John Murray, Ian Dennis and Terry Butcher in a few moments' time ahead of England's match against Spain. But we've got to start with Scotland, Lee, and really put it out there that this is a miserable run Alex McLeish is on, isn't it? 6 defeats from 8 games in his second spell in charge. Do you think it's time for the Scottish FA to accept they've got this one wrong?
Yes, I think so. There was a spell under Gordon Strachan where we were playing some dynamic football. We were entertaining slightly, and that's not something that you can probably use against a Scotland team in the last maybe 5, 6, 7 years. But I just felt we were going somewhere, and the SFA have panicked. They've brought in Alex McLeish. He's changed the formation, not really changed the personnel within the squad, and it's not been ideal. I mean, Israel the other night, we comfortably get beat, and for a nation that's not qualified for a major tournaments in 22 years, this through the Nations League was our best chance. We've still got a chance of doing it, but I just think away to Israel, we've got to be getting a result in that game, and we just let ourselves down in true Scottish fashion. Glorious failure.
And then it was the Portugal reserves, really, wasn't it, at Hampden Park? And even though Stephen Naismith scored in stoppage time to avoid perhaps some of the boos that might have come at the full-time whistle, it was still a heavy defeat, wasn't it? 3-1. How do we read the appointment of McLeish? He's obviously had the job before. What is it that made them think McLeish was better than Strachan?
International football in general is not as prestigious as it was for coaches and managers. So, as Lee said, when you're talking about a team that hasn't qualified for a major tournament for 22 years, that doesn't maybe have the pool of players that it did in the past, how many other applicants are actually going to want the job? How many other of the candidates you might would want the job? And I think it comes back to something we've talked about before, about managers losing form, maybe losing their touch a little bit. 11 years ago, Alex McLeish nearly got Scotland to the European Championships in a group with France and Italy, who played the 2006 World Cup final. It was a heck of an effort that year. They didn't quite manage it, but I don't think he's quite the same manager after his experiences at Birmingham and Aston Villa. What I do wonder, though, I'd be interested to know Lee's thoughts on this. We talk so much about the level of players that Scotland have, but are they really any worse as a pool of players than the Northern Ireland?
I completely agree with you. I don't think the Northern Ireland squad is a stronger squad on paper. They just seem to have a togetherness on the pitch that's clear to see. Scotland seem like a team full of individuals, and that we've not got any superstars.
There's no identity, Lee, is there? That's what I can't see in that Scotland team. As you alluded to there with Northern Ireland, you can see what they're trying to do in certain aspects tactically, but with Scotland and McLeish at the minute, I don't see what he's trying to do out on the football pitch. I don't see an identity, which I thought Strachan had beforehand.
I think Alec actually doesn't know what best formation suits the players, because if you've got Andy Robertson and Kieran Tierney, then they're both left backs, so something's got to happen. It's either keep 4 at the back and play one of them in front of the other one, whoever one it would be, but don't play 3 at the back and play one of the best left backs, and well, certainly the best left back in Scotland, as a left centre half of a 3, because they're both attacking minded players.
All right, more on Scotland in a little bit, but we're going to head to Seville ahead of England's match out there with Spain and join our team of Terry Butcher, Ian Dennis and John Murray.
Yes, welcome to Seville. We're sitting inside the Benito Villamarin Stadium, which is an impressive bowl. It's 3 tiers all the way around, green seats, the colours of Real Betis, and the floodlights are on, dark skies above. And I'm sitting with Terry Butcher, former England captain, to my right, and Ian Dennis, our senior football reporter, who's sitting to my left, who will be sharing the commentary with me. And the news from here is that Jordan Henderson has stayed with the England squad, even though he is suspended for the match tomorrow night, because his family were actually coming out here, and he was also going to be involved in a leadership meeting with the other senior members of the squad today. But John Stones was given the option to go home, the other player who's suspended, and he has left the squad. So it is now only, Ian, a party of 20 that England have for this game, that in the Nations League, England must win if they're to stand a chance of finishing top of this group.
Yes, but that in itself is a daunting task when you're given Spain's record in competitive matches. They've not been beaten since 2003 at home. That was against Greece. But you look at their form as well over in 90 minutes. I know they went out to Russia in the World Cup on penalties, but you look at their form over 90 minutes and they're undefeated in 27 games. Luis Enrique has won all 3 of his matches since he took charge, and they are a side that, despite their world ranking, are one of the best teams in the world. I mean, they're ranked 9th. It makes a mockery of the FIFA rankings.
I don't know how that's happened.
Well, they're not that. I mean, they are a side that seems to have got their mojo back.
Yeah. So we will hear from Gareth Southgate, and we will hear from the England goalkeeper Jordan Pickford as well. But Gareth Southgate told us, Terry, we've just got a few of the spectators just to our right here, because it was an open training session, wasn't it, for Spain?
Yeah.
So we had thousands of people in the stadium watching the Spanish national team train, and lots of kids. And what a great idea, Terry.
It was a great idea. England trained on a pitch just down the road, the Real Betis training ground, which was worse than the pitch in Croatia. And the Spanish team are on an absolute carpet here in this stadium, with the fans coming in. It was brilliant. The opening session, they had the mannequins up in the shape of a 4-3-3 that they were going to play against. They are playing in a more direct style now than they were before. And it's a very effective style as well, but they can still pass it short and they can then switch to the play very, very well. They're a very good side with very good movement, and they enjoyed it today. And just the atmosphere. I came in at the end of the session after the Gareth Southgate's press conference, and Ramos had about 3 or 4 children on the pitch kicking a ball about. The crowd loved that. And it was just a great family atmosphere, and I think England can look at that, and I'm sure that they will want to do the same as well in the future.
Yeah, and as I say, still here having selfies and pictures taking the crowd before they head off into the night. Terry, in your old position, central defender, Gareth Southgate has said that Gomez will come in, Joe Gomez, alongside Harry Maguire at the back, but we expected that, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. I mean, Lewis Dunk is in the squad. He was just called up, obviously. It's good for Lewis to be there. But when you look at Joe Gomez, the season he's having, he deserves to be in the team. And it's he's still very young, and obviously with John Stones being out, it's another partnership at the back for England. They have to get used to that. And Jordan Henderson being out, so we'll see who goes into midfield. So Gareth had to make 2 changes. Whether he makes more remains to be seen. But England, no matter who plays, young or old, will have a heck of a job tomorrow night to keep a clean sheet and get anything from this game.
Yeah, and I think the general expectation is that it'll be Harry Winks coming into the midfield in place of Jordan Henderson. But let's hear from the England goalkeeper with Ian.
Well, this is the 5 Live Football Daily, and we've now been joined by Jordan Pickford here in Seville. First of all, how weird was Croatia on Friday with no fans inside the stadium?
Yeah, especially at senior level, it's a bit of a change, but when you're growing up in, under 16s at England all the way through a little bit, you're playing pretty much empty stadiums anyway, so a bit different, but I thought it was okay. It
was great insight for us because you could hear how vocal you were, and in particular it was you and Jordan Henderson. Is that a Sunderland thing, do you think?
No, I just tried my best for the team. I think Endo does as well, and if that's communication to help the lads and give a bit of information, I think it goes a long way, because it helps them and makes the job a bit easier and keeps the ball away from my goal sometimes as well. But yeah, I think the information side of it is we need leaders on the pitch, and I think we've got a good few lads who will be a leader.
Yeah, and that clean sheet means now that England's form is the best since '97, with 4 successive clean sheets away from home. But that's going to be tested against this Spanish side, isn't it? How highly do you rate them?
Yeah, they're a top side. They've been a top side for numerous years, and it's a side we need to be well prepared for, because we know the threat they've got, and we're going to go in there with a good game plan, and hopefully the first is to keep a clean sheet. If you can't keep a clean sheet, make sure you score the goal.
Yeah. Do you have a preference in terms of the system, 3 at the back or a flat back 4?
No preference at all. Whatever the managers decide to do, and I think that's what any of the lads will say. We'll work hard on the training pitch to make it easier on the game day.
Yeah, you talked about being ruthless in front of goal. You see the lads and you train with them, don't you? Have you seen that extra determination from them since Friday?
It's hard in training to save the shots because of the top quality finishers, and it's like goalkeepers, just sometimes you let them in, sometimes you save them. same as strikers, they'll have the chance. They might bury it the next time. They might miss it. It's one of them. It's about how you bounce back and score the next one or save the next one.
And you can't afford to ever switch off against the Spanish. What are your concentration techniques to try and keep you alert?
For me, I'm always in the game. If you watch me game, I'm always talking, which I've discussed before, always communicating, and also I'm always moving about in the goal and scanning the area to see where the danger is.
Well, good luck.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks for your time.
Cheers, Jordan.
Jordan Pickford, the England goalkeeper, talking to Ian Dennis, who's still here with me inside the stadium. Terry Butcher, former England captain. Terry, it's pretty clear, isn't it, that England are going to continue with four at the back for this game against Spain?
Yeah, I mean, Gareth did allude to the fact that England can be very flexible and it's good to have options. But I think they're going to really work hard at this 4-3-3 now, and I think players are a lot more comfortable coming into that system as well. It doesn't involve playing out of position. They're in their sort of club positions as well. I think it suits Jordan Pickford. It suits a lot of the players to play the four at the back. They feel more safe. They know what their jobs. They know what they're doing better than the three, and it gives them a lot more confidence.
Yeah, it sounds like he and Steve Holland have had a good think about this and have decided that was a system that worked well for the World Cup. And he spoke to us the other day as well about how they felt it was a system that helped bring players into the England squad and the England team in a more comfortable way leading towards the World Cup. And the feeling is now, isn't it, that they're now looking to move on from that?
I think with the players, they're showing a willingness to want to make any system work. Yes, it was a bit of a sticking plaster when it came to the World Cup, putting out the three at the back, but it worked very, very well. But now you're looking at England trying to get up with the big boys and maintain a top 10 FIFA world ranking position. But to do that, they've got to win games and get games and good performances against the top sides. But to do that, they're going to have a good system, and this system suits everybody, like I say.
And they still have that flexibility as well, because I spoke to Eric Dyer after the game in Rijeka, and as we mentioned in the commentary, there was times where he was dropping in between the two central defenders, and then when in possession they were three at the back and they pushed the full-backs forward almost as wing-backs, and then when they were out of possession they went back to a back four. So there is still that flexibility, but this is, I think, the way forward now for them, and I think it's a better balance to the team, because Gareth Southgate's saying they can either play 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3.
We're expecting the three-man front line again, aren't we? So there were inevitably questions about missed chances. Harry Kane's now gone 6 appearances for England without scoring. Raheem Sterling's not scored in his last 27 appearances for England, and obviously Marcus Rashford missed those 2 very good opportunities the other night when we were in Rijeka. But the message from Gareth Southgate was that they're not worried.
Yes, he did say that as long as they're making chances, he's not concerned, because England will score eventually. I mean, there's if we weren't making chances, if it was barren, if it was poor, like it has been sometimes with the three at the back, then it's a case of just keep on going, because they will score. Raheem Sterling will score. Harry Kane will score again. It's a fact. It's a certainty it will happen. But obviously, you want to make it happen in one game would be nice, but as soon as possible, that would be even nicer. But to score against Spain would be great, and then it gives obviously something to defend and to attack. But I just think it's the confidence is in the team. You saw that. You saw the way the players were training today as well. You saw the way the players have played together. They improved during the match in Rijeka, got better, made the chances, and actually there weren't that many chances that England conceded to Croatia. So at the end of the day, it is a work in progress, but I think it's a work what everybody will enjoy.
So let's hear from the England manager. Gareth, when you play Spain away from home, it's daunting enough, isn't it? But in the context of this group, now it's also a match you need to win.
As you say, if we want to go through in the Nations League, we've got to win the game. So, but that doesn't really affect how we would approach the game anyway. Whenever we come into a game, we're thinking, how can we exploit the opposition, expose them, and how do we deal with what they have to throw at us? This Spanish team are probably as good as anything in world football at the moment, so that's a huge test, but a really good one for us.
Yeah, and obviously you will have to replace Jordan Henderson in midfield. Harry Winks is someone who is obviously a contender for that, and we well know that he's performed well this season and last season against Real Madrid and Barcelona, so that must give him a good opportunity to be that man.
Yeah, he's of course played in big games for his club, and his managers trusted him to do that, so in terms of experience, if you look at our squad, he's the one that's had that big match experience, and not only with his club, but he had that cap for us in Lithuania. And people will say, well, okay, the quality of the opposition not good, but your first games for England are as much about can you handle playing in an England shirt as they are what the opposition do against you. And he showed that, and he adapted to that really well.
Yeah, and his role in the midfield would be?
Well, he's capable of playing as a pivot or as a number 8, and I think he's a really good connector of the game. He sees good pictures. He has good techniques to move the ball quickly. He's well capable of playing forward quickly and seeing forward passes, which is important. So he's of course still learning and still developing, but he's a player in terms of a midfield player whose profile we like in terms of the style of play we want to endorse.
Yeah, and all in all, with the young squad that you've got here, the suspension hit, injury hit squad, this is just a huge challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's obviously a blow for us to lose Stones and Henderson to suspension, and it's opportunities for other players to go in and really test themselves.
Well, thanks, Gareth. Appreciate that. The England manager, Gareth Southgate. And when we talk about a young team, Terry Butcher, the other evening you were making the point that the England team average age was something like 24 years old, just slightly over 24. And if Winks does come in for Henderson, that means this team will be even younger.
Yeah, it'll be just over 22. I mean, years of age is the average. So it's a really young team when you actually look at it. But, why not? I mean, we've been talking for long enough about academies and our under-20s and under-17s and under-18s, all this having major success. Well, it's nice to see some of those players coming through into the team, and with the national team as well, they know that they're going to get a chance in there as well. So I think it's very good. The only thing, like with Jordan Henderson missing at 28, and you heard him the other night, you could hear him barking orders and driving the team on because there was no crowd to dull his noise. But that was encouraging. But he's not going to be there, so someone else has got to pick that mantle up and be the leader.
I'll just say, if that is the case, it would be the youngest starting 11 for England in the 21st century, because the previous record was against Lithuania in October 2017, where the average age was 23.7. Before that, the previous record was 1959 against Wales, 22 years, 254 days. So if your maths is right, I'm going to trust your maths is better than mine. But if that is right,
holes have been blown in your maths in the past,
and we'll wait to see if, obviously, when the team is confirmed. But that could then be the youngest side starting a match for England in the 21st century, and what a task it would be for them as well.
Just over your left shoulder, we've got a Spanish television reporter just doing her piece to camera.
Well, actually, she's not saying that. She's actually just saying don't trust Terry's maths.
Terry, just one final thought. I know we've touched on it already. Harry Kane on this run of 6 matches without a goal in an England shirt. Over the years, and you've played with a lot of them, England strikers, England main men have gone through barren spells, whether it be Harry Kane or whether it be Gary Lineker or whether you go back to Paul Mariner from your days. It happens, doesn't it?
Well, it certainly does. You look at Harry Kane in the month of August. Has he never scored? He used to never score in August. He scored this season for the first time for a while. It doesn't bother him. He's probably used to that. You're used to barren spells, but all of a sudden the goals will come in a rush. But it's about getting into the right position, doing the same things, having confidence in yourself and confidence in your teammates. And when the chances do come along, make sure you're sharp enough to take them. So strikers never worry about missing goals, missing tap-ins, missing easy chances. They never worry. They're just happy to score and they enjoy scoring. That's their drug. That's their buzz, putting the ball in the back of the net with whatever part of their body they can.
Well, we will see, won't we, tomorrow night, whether he and England can score here in Betis, in Real Betis' stadium against Spain.
I'm bringing my stopwatch and calculator now.
Good. I'm pleased to hear it.
It's about time. It's about time you did something. Yeah.
So we will head off into the night and see what Seville has to offer.
Okay, full commentary on Monday night on 5 Live Sport. Don't miss it. Should be a terrific match. The absence, Matt Etherington, of Jordan Henderson will be interesting, won't it? That's sort of like the player who gets a lot of criticism when he plays, but maybe when he doesn't play, we value him a little more. Would you agree with that?
Completely agree. I'm a big Jordan Henderson fan. I think it's the case when he plays for his club side as well. I think Liverpool are a worse team without him. It's definitely the case, and England will miss him on Monday night. It'll be interesting to see which way he goes. Obviously, against Croatia, with Dyer and Henderson in there and Barkley a little bit further forward, I thought first half it didn't work. I thought they were getting drawn towards the ball when the back four had it too often. But second half was a lot better, and they got forward a lot more and got the ball in more forward areas, which helped the front line. So it'd be interesting to see which way he goes. If he goes with Dyer and Winks, I think they're two pretty similar players, if I'm being honest with you. Just Dyer's a little bit more physical. I don't know what you think, Tom, but it's just there's nothing in there at the minute, and I include Winks in this, that excites me in that England midfield, and I think that's where we're lacking right now.
I think there's a bit more to come from Winks, actually. I saw a lot of him, I've seen a lot of his career at Tottenham, and in the first half of last season they played 2 games against Real Madrid home and away, and he was outstanding in those matches. I think he's an intelligent player on the ball. I think he's more progressive than Dyer with his passing. Certainly he's a little bit more athletic around the pitch as well. He's a bit nippier. He's been compared to Iniesta, which I think is premature. But
I think he's the same player that he was before the injury, because he had a year out.
I was going to come on to that, Matt. I think he came back. He had this injury, playing with his ankle problem from around last autumn. Came back in January too early. Then he had to go to Qatar to try to sort it out. They eventually had the operation. And as you guys all know much better than I would, when you have an injury like a knee, an ankle, I imagine it plays on your mind quite a lot. But he's been promising for Spurs so far this season, and I think he is somebody who could be a very important player for England over a number of years.
So Winks tip to come in for Henderson. We know Gomez is going to come in for Stones at the back. Lee McCulloch, I thought was quite interesting in the Croatia match, the behind closed doors. The voice that you heard throughout those 90 minutes was that of Jordan Henderson, continually talking to those around him, the second leader, if you like.
I think, especially in the modern day game, where the younger players that I've found when I was managing, the players would prefer to text each other than actually talk. The days of real leaders on the pitch I think it's getting away from us. I'm a big Jordan Henderson fan. He can keep it simple, but he can also pass it forward. He does do the ugly side of the game really well, but one of the most important things, and I think he's probably taken the role or the responsibility from being the captain at Liverpool, is being able to talk and push and pull people all round about you in the pitch, because in international football, that's what you need. You need your leaders. And alluding back to Scotland, we've not got one leader. It's good to see in that middle of the pitch for England, which I agree with Matthew, that they are slightly lacking in my opinion, but to have somebody in the middle of the pitch that puts the foot in like he does, and to be such a great talker, is priceless, really.
I think Henderson was unlucky on a couple of counts, wasn't he, in that he came up against Luka Modric, one of the best midfielders of his generation, in a Champions League final and a World Cup semi-final, and he wasn't as good as Modric, but you can say that probably about any number of midfielders you care to mention over a period of time. I take what you guys say about his leadership and about talking to the players and all the essential stuff he does that maybe the average fan might not see. I would wonder, though, if you want a top-class team, both a club side to win a major European, the Premier League trophy, or England to win a major international trophy, I wonder if he gets in that side.
He does for me all day long.
Does he?
Yeah. Not alongside a Dyer. I think we've got to get to a point with England. Liverpool are in a better position somewhat in attacking areas, but I think we've got to get to a position with England where he's the holding midfield player. He's the one that screens, and he's got unbelievable energy, Jordan Henderson, and we've got 2 in front of him.
So would you class him as a world-class player?
No. But he's a very, very, very good player. World class is probably pushing it, if I'm being honest. But I think with him in the side, in the Liverpool side and an England side, gives you a better chance of winning something, in my opinion.
When you're playing against him, is he one of the main players that your manager would talk about?
No, not
we've
necessarily.
Got to stop this guy, we've got to.
He's not one that's going to hurt you in an attacking sense, but he's one that, again, like I said, his energy levels are exceptional. He gets all over the pitch. He's a leader, as Lee just alluded to. And those players are few and far between these days, and I think you need those kind of players to win titles.
line of the pod so far from Lee McCulloch that players would rather text each other than communicate on a field of play. Great line, but also it opens up a great debate, Lee. So let's talk about that for a couple of minutes, because Matt, you work with the kids at Peterborough Academy, and presumably you see this every day when you're trying to coach, when you're looking for leaders on the field. How hard is it to get kids to communicate?
It is hard. It's very, very hard, and I completely agree with what Lee said. We've actually, at the training ground now, they have to hand in their phones. That's where it's gone with us. Just for now. It's not probably going to be a long-term thing, but we want them to encourage talking to each other and talking about the game, talking about training, talking about improving as players.
They must look at you and go, all right, Granddad.
Yeah, I know, maybe. But that's something we've introduced, and it's gone well, and they accept it, and they get their phones back when they leave the training ground, and it's just something that I feel is really beneficial for them.
I just think there's a shyness sweeping through the younger players when the whistle goes. But off the pitch, there doesn't seem to be this shyness, because they're trying to live the football player lifestyle. So they're on their Instagrams, and I'm not having the Snapchats and all the rest of the things that. It seems to be a sort of false world, and they're getting a false confidence from their followers. But really, when it comes down to it, and the whistle goes, you see them shrinking.
I suppose, playing devil's advocate for a second, haven't you as managers and coaches got to embrace the fact that is the way society
without a doubt
has gone?
Yes.
Phones are not suddenly going to disappear off the face of the earth, however much you ban them from the training ground.
But beforehand, you'd literally walk into the change room and they'd all be on their phones and they wouldn't be talking to each other. It is incredible. So I just think, for the sake of they come in at 9 o'clock in the morning and they'll leave around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. For the sake of 6 hours, they don't have to have their phone, in my opinion, and it will promote talking to each other, talking about the game, talking about life outside of the training ground. I just think it promotes, being sociable, basically, and I don't see any harm in it. Listen, I'm first to be aware of, I've got kids myself, of the way social media is now and the way society is. It's just something we've introduced, and like I said, it probably wouldn't be a long-term thing, but I just think it helps as us as a team and as an academy.
All right, we've gone a bit off topic, but it was very interesting. If we bring it back to England and the way they're going to set up now, it seems, against the more talented attacking nations like Croatia the other night, back to a back four. Do you think that Southgate has accepted that maybe three at the back is not the greatest idea against teams with a lot of attacking ability?
I think I prefer the three at the back with England. I really do. It allows you the likes of Alexander-Arnold maybe to play, Trippier, Gomez, Walker. That right side especially is very, very strong. And I'm still not convinced by Maguire wholeheartedly, if I'm being honest. I looked at him again the other night, and in possession at times he looked quite cumbersome to me. I think with the defenders that we have in the squad, three's the way to go.
As Southgate's saying, you need probably to be comfortable with two or three systems. In other countries, you might know differently, Matt, but it doesn't seem to be such a problem. Like at club level, if you're asked to switch system, would the players kick up a fuss about it?
Yeah, some players, if you haven't worked on it, they'll be like, what's going on? Because players don't like change. But I hear that even the England youth setups, 16s, 18s, 17s, 20s, they've all got a plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, plan E. And I think this is where Gareth Southgate's going with the England team. I think he wants us to be adaptable, which I haven't got a problem with. He probably will have a formation that he favours and that he wants to go to most of the time. But if it's not working, I think it'll be a good thing if he can change it.
Talking of the options for England, well, a cameo off the bench from Jadon Sancho out in Croatia, and Phil Foden apparently is wanted by Dortmund as well, which would team the two of them up. Report in the Mail on Sunday today suggesting that, Tom.
Sancho's been such a success at Dortmund. Everybody talks about Foden in the same breath, so you can see why Dortmund might explore that. I think Leipzig were linked as well. Do you know, I'm absolutely fascinated by the concept of Phil Foden, because I don't think in nearly 30 years of following football, have ever seen anything quite like it. Everyone is so convinced that this guy is going to be the next Gascoigne, the next Iniesta, the next Pele, based on relatively little evidence at the top level. I think we're all so determined.
Do you think he will be?
I've no idea, and I don't think anyone else has
either,
either, Matt.
To be honest,
but I think we can't do, because the sample size is so small.
Yeah, exactly.
But we're so desperate that he comes on and plays, a few minutes when they're 5-0 up against Cardiff, and everything's, oh, crikey, this guy's incredible. I even saw people talking about his performance in a 7-0 win for England under 21s over Andorra under 21s. Now, I don't mean to be disrespectful of them, but the Andorra senior team are pretty poor. Their under 21s are not going to be a high level of football. So I'm fascinated to see what becomes of Phil Foden. I'd love to see what City do when David Silva finally comes to the end. And I'm willing to bet a bit of money that they would buy another top-level player.
Really?
Yes. I don't think he'll be the one who'll be brought in. And we have
Why?
to remember, because I think he'd be playing now. I think Jack Wilshere...
They got Silva and De Bruyne in front of him. I'm probably of the other thought that if David Silva, when he does retire, I think Phil Foden's straight in. He's the natural replacement.
I bet they buy somebody else.
Okay.
He has only played 31 minutes of football this season. So I think he needs to go out and get games in a first-team environment. So if that would be a loan, I think that would enhance his progression as a football player. And
that point that Lee makes is what Dortmund are thinking, presumably. They're thinking, well, he's had so little game time. We could offer him that.
Yeah.
Look at what we've done for Sancho. Look at the way he has had all these assists this season, not basically off the bench.
And he looked good the other night, didn't he?
He looked good the other night when he came on, and he was the one who came on. And do you have to leave for game time, or do you back yourself as a pro to get in that City side, as hard as it might be?
Do they have to be mutually exclusive, though? I mean, could he not go on loan to a good Premier League team, a good team abroad, do well there for a year, and then you go back, you're in at City, and you're probably a stronger player, aren't you, for the experience when you come back?
He wouldn't want to leave City under Guardiola.
I think it's a test of his mentality as well. Getting put out on loan, if it's abroad, he's moving to a new culture. He's going to be learning things. Yes, he's 18. He's going to grow up and mature so much from that experience off the pitch as well. And he would, in my opinion, come back a more confident man. And he's getting to see the different cultures from a footballing perspective. So I think it would be a fantastic move for him. But I can see it as a sort of catch-22. He's got the best manager in the world. He's playing with the best players in the world. He's obviously got a level of confidence. But for me, if I was his father, I would be giving him the advice of go and get a good half season in you and go and learn something different.
All right, well, Dortmund on the prowl, possibly for Foden's services. Interesting, though, what is going on with the German national side at the moment, beaten 3-0 by the Netherlands. Ahead of that, interesting interview Per Mertesacker gave to the EuroLeague's programme, saying, talking about negative energy, talking about the need to be successful again very quickly to avoid a very difficult situation. Obviously, the group failure at the World Cup. Now this, what is going on with Germany?
I watched that game, actually, and for a period in the second half, it looked like they were going to equalise. Sané had a very good chance, played in by Kimmich. But I think it just looks like they've come to the end of a cycle, doesn't it? Jogi Löw continuing there, but you just get the sense maybe he's been there long enough now. Maybe it's time for somebody else to introduce a new way of playing. It's just something not quite right there.
It just looks like, on the other hand, that the Netherlands are on the new cycle.
It does, doesn't it?
They look like a decent side. When Wijnaldum, who I've been really impressed with at Liverpool this season, is playing out of his skin. Van Dijk looks like he might have an injury.
Van Dijk as a captain, be a good captain.
So
they
look like that they're at the other end and looking forward under Koeman.
Yeah.
They look pretty good.
But Germany not without talent, Lee. I mean, they've still got players in there who should be capable of better results than they're having.
Definitely. I think they're going through a sort of transitional period in a way. I think they've dominated the world of football for 8-10 years, and everybody was jumping on the bandwagon of, during that time, let's do it the German way. Let's their fitness levels, they had the presence, they could handle the ball, could pass the ball. They had a model for their younger players where they would rotate the younger players and let them experience different positions on the pitch to get a better understanding and their knowledge for the game and the game itself.
And the relationship with the clubs as well, all buying into the idea of national success.
Yes, of course. So I just think they look vulnerable just now. They look short of confidence. I think they're maybe keeping the manager because of what he has done in the past, where football isn't really like that. It's If they're not doing well enough, then maybe do they change him? That's what I think.
I'd agree with Lee. I think it's time for a new coach, because you look at the players. The players are still there, aren't they? They won the Confederations Cup the year before the World Cup. It's been successful at junior levels. So it's not a question of a lack of talent. They could afford to leave Leroy Sané out of the World Cup squad, for goodness sake.
That was an unbelievable decision.
It was an unbelievable decision, wasn't it? But they've got so many good players that it's probably just time for a change of the guy driving the ship.
5th defeat in 9 games for Joachim Löw and for Germany. You can read those Per Mertesacker comments on the BBC Sport website, by the way. So England at Spain, full commentary Monday night on 5 Live. Republic of Ireland against Wales on Tuesday night. We heard on Sunday Scotland's defeat at home to Portugal. Anything further to say on that, Lee, or are you just forgetting all about it and moving on swiftly?
Yeah, well, with it being a friendly, I think
doesn't count.
Doesn't count. I think the press in Scotland will be after Alex McLeish now and putting him under all sorts of pressure. We've still got 2 games, we're on 3 points. We're actually currently sitting top of the league, but obviously the Israel and Albania on 3 points as well. It's still doable. Alex McLeish is a good manager. He had Scotland up to 13th in the FIFA World Rankings a good few years ago when he was last in the manager, and I was lucky enough to be in his squad. And he's a fantastic manager. I just don't think he's got the Scotland fans really giving him full backing. So. Yeah, friendlies for me don't count anymore. It's just all.
And listen, what about the Lee Griffiths situation?
Yeah, well, the reports were that after he didn't play him in the previous game, he phoned Lee Griffiths, and Lee Griffiths didn't take his call and didn't phone him back. Lee Griffiths has turned up for the squad there just for this double header, and he said that he has to go away and work on his fitness. There's obviously something blatantly wrong. I don't think a player can pick and choose when he can play and represent his country. But there obviously has been a little bit of a fallout here, and I think instead of them going to each other, there's got to be a mediator to get them to sit down like adults. And we're not a good enough team to not have the likes of Lee Griffiths in it.
And you threw a name out there as someone who could fulfil that role.
James McFadden, yeah, he's the assistant manager along with Peter Grant, but I just think he's got that connection with the players. Yeah. And if it was me, I'd be saying, James, you need to get Lee and Alec round the table together and get this sorted, because the press are making much more of it. We need to get it sorted as a country, and we've still got 2 games to go and get qualification.
All right, as well as the international fixtures, and by the way, it always makes me laugh when it's referred to as the international break. It's not for many of you clubs, is it? Down in the in the lower divisions, and a full programme in League One and League Two. In League Two, the standout result was Newport County's 98th minute winner against Stevenage, which means Newport are third in League Two, and Michael Flynn's men getting that winner deep into stoppage time. Yeah,
I know Flinny really well. I played with him at Wigan Athletic, and what a guy he is. He's doing really, really good job there. So I know he'd have been delighted with that 98th minute winner.
Just a word down at the bottom of League Two. Poor old Macclesfield, newly promoted, of course, but they haven't won this season, and more than that, they haven't won in the Football League since the season when they were relegated from League Two, which was 2012. So they're still looking for a Football League win in 6 years. Ouch.
Well, they struggled, didn't they? Because in the summer, I think their manager went to Shrewsbury, because Paul Hurst from Shrewsbury went to Ipswich, and he was the guy who got them up, and they just got rid of Mark Yates, who was his successor. So I think it's really hard at that level, isn't it, where a manager gets you up, not corresponding to your resources. He's the whole linchpin, and then you lose him in the summer. All the players would have been following him. And you make a bad start. It's tough after that, isn't it, to recover?
Tom, thank you. Matt as
Pleasure.
well. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Lee, all the best. Hope things pick up for you.